Okay, do you have any doubts related to the yesterday session?
No, Venkat.
Okay, you were Girish?
Just give me a brief discussion about this lookup template once.
Okay. Okay, so coming to the lookup file, what are the mandatory things we need to give?
Key, place your
So we need to specify the URL of the file
yeah.
while defining the graph itself, and the record format we
Lookup.
have to specify, and the key we need to specify. So here the important thing is we are specifying the file in the graph itself. So let's say like we have like 30 lookup files within the graph, and
Yeah.
you're running one of the process. The graph is generic. You're running one of the process, and I will be using the same graph for another process, and she will be using the same graph for some other process. Three different processes are depending on this graph. So to run all these processes, we have to use 30 lookup files. But at the same time, we are not using all the lookup files. For your process, you may be require 10 lookup files, and my process 10 lookup files, and her process 10 lookup files. But totally to satisfy all these three processes, we definitely require 30 lookup files. So in such a case, when you're running the graph for your process, do you require the lookup files, other 20 lookup files?
No.
But still the graph will load all these lookup files into the memory. So are you not consuming the memory and the time? Even though you are not required, you just require 10 lookup files, but still you are loading 20 more lookup files into the memory, and you are utilizing the memory fast, and the process time you are utilizing it. So instead that, if we were using like a lookup template, let's say in such a case, what are these 20 lookup files we have it, which is not required particular to your process. While defining the lookup template, we will be giving the URL as null, and whenever it is required within the transformation itself, we will be loading the data. So now your process is running. All the remaining 20 will be like lookup templates. It's just a pointer will be getting created in the memory. It's not even loading the data, because we don't even know what data has to be loaded into these files.
Okay.
So how much time do you require just to create a pointer in the memory? It's a fraction of the seconds is required. So, and we are not utilizing the memory for these other 20 files. But in this case, definitely we have to wait for till loading, excuse me, till loading into the memory and utilizing the memory. Here both the things are recovering it. We are not utilizing the memory because we don't know what file we have to load it.
Okay.
And it's just creating a pointer. We have just extra 20 more pointers in the RAM. So, and we are not going to utilize the memory also. So it's just a fraction of seconds extra we are taking it. But a lot of advantages are there. And once the pointers have been created and loaded into the RAM, we will be, whichever the process is running, and according to the process within the transformation components, we will be utilizing the lookup functions to load the data into these files, and then we do a lookup operations. Once completed, we can unload the data, or else if you are not doing it, automatically it will be done once the phase gets finished. That can also be done, but loading we have to make sure that. Is it clear? Why do we require
Yeah.
template? The advantage over the lookup file. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go to practicals. Okay, so this is one of the example we have for lookups. Okay, so this is a report structure and the data we have it from the input file. We have one or two records, and here mainly what we have to concentrate is, so here we have specified in the first lookup file I have given name as table 1. So this is a label we have to concentrate what we have to give according to the process, because while doing a lookup again we have to give the same name, and for the lookup file we have already given the name and this file has to be exist. And coming to the parameters, the key and the record format we have given. Here the record format is customer ID and it's totally about the customer details. So from the input data we have the customer ID. So we can send this customer ID to this lookup file and can access any of the other fields. So easily we can identify what is the key, and if you can see here the key is also customer ID. And similarly for the table 2, the customer ID, here the key is a product ID. Let's look at the DML, product ID and product name. So we will be sending a product ID and we'll be extracting the product name. So let's see how can we do that. So in any of the transformation, we can access this lookup values. How are we doing it? So in dot transaction ID, whatever it is coming, we are assigning to the out dot customer ID, and we are getting a zip from the customer file by doing a lookup on the table 1, that is a customer file. And what we are sending, customer ID. So from the input we are sending the customer ID to the table 1, and whatever the value we have it on the customer ID, that will be done a lookup on the table 1, and whenever it matches we were extracting the zip. And similarly for the product, we are sending the product ID into the table 2 lookup and extracting the product name. If it is not finding, we are giving unknown product. So let me run the graph. Okay, let's check it one of the record. We got 535134. Okay, this is the input report. So what we are doing in the transformation, outdoor trans ID is equal to indoor trans ID. So we are taking this field and assigning to the output field. So trans ID got assigned, and for coming to the zip, so we are sending the customer ID to the table 1 lookup file. So customer ID is 7608. So we are sending the 7608 customer ID to the lookup file, the first one, and accessing the zip. So here the zip is 75833. So that is the reason we are getting this value. Then we are sending the product ID, that is lamp 2. The product ID is lamp 2 and accessing the product name, desk lamp. So we got it, desk lamp. So each of the record, whatever we are getting from the input, all this performs these lookup operations and extracted these values, the zip under the product names. And there somewhat you can see like unknown product. So by this we can say that by default the lookup operations are a left outer join. Is it clear? Hello.
Yes, we'll get it clear.
Okay, you Bhagirash?
Yes, Venkat.
Okay.
Yes, yes, Venkat.
Okay. So I have one question here. So now we have performed by sending the customer ID, and we have accessed the zip and loaded into the output file. So along with the zip, I want city name and state also. How can you do that?
Two different parameters will.
Yeah, here I have only zip from the customer file or the table 1 lookup file. So along with this, I want the city and the state also in the output file. Here in this table, only product ID we were sending and getting product name. So we don't have any extra fields. So this is fine. Product or product name. But here from the customer file or the table 1 lookup file, I want city and state also along with the zip. For the zip, yes, we have the code ready. So for city and state also I want it. How can you do that? What are the
Again, we will
changes we
define
have
two
to do?
parameters and we will assign that.
To get these values in the output file, what are the changes we have to do?
Venkat, can you show me that deformat function?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in the same way we can go for that, right? Like we can define one output parameter.
Output parameter.
Yeah, output field
Okay.
name, whatever it
Okay.
is.
What are those fields?
Output. Uh,
Out dot city dot state.
output.
Okay, where you will define this city and state?
Directly out dot state we can define it.
Okay, in the transformation you're writing out dot city and out dot state. Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, transformation is completed and the graph will work, or still you have to do any more changes?
No, no. In output port also we need to define those, right?
Okay, yes. So the DML will also get modified because currently we don't have this city and the state fields. Okay, fine. City and state fields, whatever we have in the input DML, so same you have placed in the output DML also. Okay, fine. Now the record format is fine. And within the transformation, so in this output.xfr, what code exactly you will write it? Out.city and out.state you have it. What exactly you will write?
Same lookup of whether it is from which table it is. Table one. Lookup of table one in that custody. Then we'll go for city.
Okay.
No, I think these are duplicate values are there.
And similarly for state also you will write lookup of table one,
Yeah.
in dot customer ID dot state, out dot state equals
Yeah.
to same lookup.
Yeah.
Okay. You Ravli?
But calling.
Same thing, whatever Bhagiraj told.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Let's say,
And one thing, Venkat,
yeah.
can you do it by putting comma? I means fetching one, hitting one table one time
No,
only.
no, no. We have to write it. Whatever you said, I agree. Same way we have to write it.
Hmm.
Okay.
But if this is more data, then it will be a performance issue, right? If we hit this table, I mean, more times. And if there is, for example, max data is limit is 2 GB, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for example, I want 6 different fields, okay, from that lookup table.
Okay.
Then six
Let's
times I
say,
need to go for
let's say
lookup
data
function,
is
right?
just 100 records. In the
Sorry?
lookup file, we just have 100 records, not more than that.
Okay.
How will you do that?
No, in my case, yeah, that's fine. If the data is less, then we can go for different lookup functions.
Okay. If data is more,
That's what I'm asking. If data is more, then if you go for the lookup function for each field,
okay.
then that would be a performance degradation, right? Then in
Okay.
that case, is there any other option for this?
Yeah, that is what I was concentrating on this. So
Hmm.
here, whenever you are extracting more than one field, whether data is less or more, you should not do multiple lookups like this. Lookup of table one in dot customer ID dot zip and for state dot city multiple times you should not call the same lookup operation. So by doing this, what we are going to achieve it. So here we are sending 7608 customer ID. First we are extracting .zip and assigning to the output out.zip, and then the next two lines assume that we have state and the city. So out.city is equals to same thing, same of the lookup function dot city, and then the next line we have out.state is equals to same function of dot state. So in such a case, again we were sending it customer ID to the lookup file and matching with each of the customer ID what we have done for the zip, and once it get matches, then we are going to extract the city. Then comes to the next line, again it sends the customer ID and tries to match each of the records, and once it get match, we are going to access the stage. So at any time in these three lookups, are you concentrating the same record or different records?
Same record.
Same record, but only thing is you are extracting different field values.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So in such a case, if I have this lookup file of 30 fields and we want to extract minimum of 15 fields from the lookup file, will you be writing 15 lines of code here? Out dot field 1, field 2, field 3, field 15, and lookup of field 1, field 2, field 15. One second. Okay. So definitely we should not do that. It will degrade the performance and it's not the best way of doing the coding. If you are just extracting only one field from the lookup file, then doing this is right thing. But if you are extracting more than one field, obviously we will be pointing to the same record and extracting different field values. In such a case, if I am doing it multiple times, even just for the two fields also, that is not suggestible. Let's say I have 1 lakh records in this lookup file and I'm pointing to the lost record, 1 lakh record. So in such a case, what is the how many times I'm doing a lookup? I will be doing 2 lakh times. Still I will be pointing to the same record. I may be extracting the street and city 2 times, but still I'm doing the same operation for the 2 lakh times, which can be done in 1 lakh. So in such a case, if I'm extracting 15 fields out of 30 fields, I will be doing 15 lakh times the lookup operation. The worst case, if it is a lost record, which can be done in 1 lakh times for the first time itself. So to do this, do we have any variable which can hold city, state and zip code into a one variable? We don't have. So we have to create our own type which can hold city is a character, state is a character and zip is a decimal field, and define one type of these fields what all you are going to extract from the lookup file. One second. No, you have to, sorry, you have to define a type exactly equivalent to the lookup file and then extract it from the lookup file. So you may be sending the customer ID and extracting all the records values into a variable. Then once it comes into the variable, using the variable dot notation, you can extract whatever the fields you require it. So is it clear the process? How are we going to do?
Yeah.
You're Avali?
Yes, Venkat.
Okay. Okay, here in the previous example, yeah, whatever we said, like output file we are using as a lookup file by doing add to catalog, and this is a multi-file. So I have an input file with 4 records, and 10 records in the input file. So now can I run all this complete graph at a time?
No, only
Why?
lookup files, I think.
Why we should
I
not
think
run?
we are using that lookup, right? Output as lookup.
Okay,
So if we run simultaneously, then it may require the lookup file at this point in time. If the
okay,
first graph is a bit late, it is taking more time, then this graph will get failed.
yes. So if I'm running the complete all the components at a time means the graph will fail because I will be accessing this file as a lookup file and this will not get created. So I have to make sure that the file should get created, then only I can do a lookup operation. So that is the reason I have done into two different phases. So this is called a phase number. Wherever you can see all these three components are on the 0th phase and all these components are in the first phase. So if I just select one, all the phase components which are on the same phase will get selected. So these three components will be run first and then it will start here. The next component will be this process will get started. So in this reformat, I am accessing this file as a lookup file. And now what is this file? It's a lookup multi-file. You can see m file mfs two-way dpt underscore pbk.dat. So this is a multi-file. How can we do a lookup? Again, the flow should be traveling on the same MFS. Then we can do a lookup. But see here, we have defined our own type, which is equivalent to the type of the lookup file. Department number, name, and location are the three fields we have it. So we have defined our own type. What is the type name? DPT type. Then you create a variable of this type. How can we create the type? So let's type name and the variable name. So I have created a variable called tt of type dpt type. So we don't have any predefined data types in this way. Generally we will be having let string of 10 or 20 and the variable name, let decimal of 5 variable name, let date of some format and the variable name. These all the data types are the predefined types, but to store the record of this type we don't be having it. So we have to create our own user defined type and then create a variable for the type. So once you created a variable, use a lookup local because it's a multi-file. So instead of just the change here is underscore local, that's it. Exactly equivalent, the remaining everything. So, and what is the file of the lookup file? Name of the lookup file, dpt details. And the key is department number. So from the input, we are sending department number. And one more change here is, in our previous example, whenever we are extracting a specific field, once the lookup operation has been done, and once it get matches whatever the value you are sending from the input, we are accessing particular field using dot notation, dot zip, dot state, dot city, like that. But here you don't do that because you already have a variable which can hold all those values. It's a complete record will hold it particular to that type. So you don't use dot notation and extract only specific fields because this variable has a capacity or the provision to hold the complete structure of the lookup. So you just do a lookup local if it is a multi-file, then whole record will be loaded here. So once you code that record into the variable, you can do it. Dot rename dt dot location. So in this case, only the first time we are doing a lookup, then after how many fields you require, all the fields can be accessed using a dot notation in the variable itself. It will not take much time because it has only one record. Easily we can, so this is how we can get the performance. So is it clear how can we do a type declaration and a variable for the type and getting a value from the lookup file and using it from the variable? Ravali and Bhagiraj, is it clear?
Yeah, Venkat.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Venkat.
Okay, so same thing you can try for the state and zip code, right? Same, we can define all the fields here. Whatever the record structure is
Yeah.
for the lookup file, the same structure you place it for the temporary type declaration.
Yeah.
Then you can create a variable. So now you see that till completion of this component will not be started.
And Venkat, how to create those phases?
Nothing. You just select all the components, what all you want it, and this is a phase. Now we have an option to decrement the phase. Now it became 0, and this I'll make it 0. Now all are in 0th phase. If you want all to make it 1, increment it. All can be done 0, decrement it.
Yeah.
So instead of selecting everything, so if you just select this one and make it increment, obviously all will get incremented because we are deciding this is the first component to run it in one first phase. Obviously all this has to run in the first phase only. So you can
Yeah.
select everything or one component and make it increment the phase. So these are the buttons: decrement the phase and increment the phase.
Like that, we can have how many phases in a graph?
And no limit. We can have a number of phases.
Okay.
Okay. So department 10, we are getting accounting and Bangalore. Yes, accounting and Bangalore. And 30 discounts on Chennai. 30th discounts on Chennai. And 50 we don't have a matching record, so still it is getting into the output port and with the null values. So again, this is an absolute proof where the lookup files gives a left outer join by default. And 28, the payments with Hyderabad. Clear, right? How
Yeah.
the lookup local can be performed. So here what all the things we have seen. The first thing is what is a lookup, how can we do a lookup on a specific field. Then if you are going to extract a multiple fields, what is the drawback of doing just a lookup of and extracting the specific fields from the lookup file, and what is the advantage of doing creating a type and then creating a variable of that type and extracting all the fields whatever we require in the lookup, and then using a dot notation from the variable we can extract it. One second. Oh, what's speed in the? Okay, okay, sir. Monday start. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. ನೀವು ಮಾತಾಡೋಣ ಅದು ಡೆಮೋ ನಾನು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಾನು ಏಕೀಕರಣ ಆಫೀಸ್ నైట్ అయితే పర్లేదు అంటున్నారు సో సర్వీస్ చెప్తాను ఏ విషయం అవును సార్ నిన్న ఈవినింగ్ అవునా సార్ అతను కిలోమీటర్ ఎవరు అతను సార్ ఆమె సార్ ఆమె నిన్న ఈవినింగ్ తీసుకున్నాడు అవును సార్ సరే సరే సార్ అదే నేను చెప్పాను కొంచెం టైం చేంజ్ చేస్తాను లేదు అని చెప్పాను సో మీరు కనుక్కోండి సార్ ఓకే ఓకే సార్ లాగిన్ అవుతారు సార్ ఇప్పుడు అవును సార్ ఓకే Okay, so now are you clear what all the process we have done?
Yeah. And Venkat, this lookup local is for only multi-stage files, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You Ravani, is it clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. Yeah, yeah. We will stop it here then, and the next session we will have it on Monday morning, same time as per IST.
Okay.
Okay.
And
I'm waiting for you, right? Okay, Sunday night. Okay.
Yeah, for you Sunday night.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, Venkat, please share that recorded sessions. Oh, recorded sessions.
I think better if I can share at the end of the batch.
Yeah, but tomorrow I have
Because
an
if
interview.
it's
That's why
like
I'm asking.
twice I have to share if it is now I'm going to share on the pen drive for you. So twice I need to share it.
No, no, no. Tomorrow I have an interview. That's why I'm asking you.
Okay, okay. And if I share now also, I don't think so you will get it by tomorrow, right?
On mail you can't share it, right?
No, no, no.
Oh,
So I
okay,
thought
fine.
better I can share at the end of the course so that all at a time I can give you.
Okay, fine.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you.